What's the worst defense you've seen someone make in a court? We had a guy in court when I worked in CPS who beat his kid with a belt. In court, he asked the judge if he could take off his belt and demonstrate how hard he hit his kid by using his jacket on the back of a chair. The judge was like, "Whatevs, go for it." I was expecting him to half-ass it, but the guy wailed on the chair until the bailiff told him that's enough. The entire courtroom was like, "Holy shit, dude." And that's how I got quite possibly the easiest child removal to date. Not that I had any thought I'd lose the case. The pictures were horrific, and that kid will have scars from that beating for life. I took a guy to small claims court. His defense was I didn't have the product, so I couldn't ship it to him. Obviously. The judge was like, "But you took his money?" The guy, "Yay, so I could buy the product and ship it to him." Judge, "Did you do that?" Guy, "Not yet." Judge, "Do you have his money?" Guy, "No, I had an emergency and had to spend it. That was that. I won." Edit, "Someone gave me gold. Thanks, this was a very stressful period of my life." I saw this go down while waiting for my traffic ticket. Judge, "So, you were seen pulling a stop sign out of the ground and throwing it in the river." Accused, "Yes, sir." J, "Were you drunk?" A, "No, sir." J, "The ticket says you were intoxicated." A, "No, sir." J, "Okay, let's say I believe you. I will throw out this drunk and disorderly charge." A, "Thank you, sir." J, "But I will have to charge you with the destruction of government property and endangering the public. That comes with at least a year in jail. So I'll ask one more time. Were you drunk?" A, "Yes, sir. Very drunk, sir." My sister told the judge that the light wasn't that red. Then he said he was going to suspend her license and she said, "But my dad already took it away." I defended a guy on a DUI that jumped into the backseat after he got pulled over and claimed someone else was driving. He was the only one in the car. Aggravated criminal sodomy. The defense attorney said the rape only lasted for a minute. Edit, during closing argument to the jury. "I never touched my daughters. I never hurt my daughters. Never would I sexually abuse my daughters, except that one time at the cabin." The guy became an instant meme in our country/language. It says here you were drinking and driving. Judge, "No sir, I drank then I drove." A guilty guy. A domestic abuse case. The husband was the accused. The couple was in their late 70s or early 80s. When asked if he did indeed abuse his wife, the husband started complaining that some 40 years ago the wife pretended to be ill and he had to do the laundry all by himself, as if he expected the judge to just go, "Oh okay, I guess that's cool then." I was in traffic court and the first guy to go before the judge got pulled over doing some crazy speed, like 140 miles per hour. The judge essentially told the guy to say he wouldn't ever do it again and that it was a mistake, and in return, the judge would drop the ticket fee and the points on his record. The guy countered with, "Well, I drive that fast all the time, so I'm really good at it, and I don't think it was dangerous at all because of how good of a driver I am." Guy cold walked out totally free, but instead got a $2,500 F&E and 2 points on his record. I watched a friend try a DWI case. Her client testified that she wasn't drunk while driving and therefore not guilty because she was actually high on meth at the time. My friend put her head down and started hitting her head against the desk. Google tie. Of course his DNA semen was in the alley behind his apartment where a sexual assault took place. Where else would you expect to find your DNA except where you lived? Friend of mine once got a ticket for leaving her car standing in the marked off no parking zone in front of a grocery store, which she thought was outrageous because she was just running in to get a pack of smokes. Then she saw how much the ticket was for, something like $120, which she thought was just ridiculous because damn it, she was just running in for a pack of smokes. I mean, come on, how is that worth $120? So her plan was to go to court and contest the ticket and point out to the judge how ridiculous that was and offer to compromise it like maybe $40 because for Pete's sake, She was just running in for a pack of smokes, and let's be reasonable here. Yes, her plan was to haggle with the judge over how much the ticket should be worth. So she goes to court and sits there most of the day waiting for her case to be called. And eventually she gets bored and goes outside to grab a smoke and hang out. And while she's out there, her case is called. She missed the whole thing, didn't even get to try the whole come on. $120? For that? Come on. I'll give you $40 and even that's highway robbery defense on the judge, and got hit for the full value of the ticket plus court costs. I was a juror for a case against a woman that was charged with selling a stolen gun to a pawnbroker and possession of a gun by a convicted felon. She took the stand and admitted to finding the gun at a friend's house and taking it to the pawnbroker. Her attorney's entire closing argument was that the state failed to prove that it was a gun and the charges should be dropped. Never mind the fact that she admitted to it being a gun. The guy that owned the gun said it was his gun, and we had it right there in front of us. The defense said it was not a gun because the state had not fired it to prove it was a gun. And of course, as soon as we get back to the room to deliberate, one of the other jurors said he was not convinced it was a real gun. That was a really long day. Edit. Wow, this is by far the most karma I've ever gotten on a comment. To those wondering, we had the gun in the jury room, but it was in a clear plastic box. We did have a bailiff come in at one point to take it out and pull the slide back. We were not allowed to handle it ourselves. Ted Bundy jumping out of the courthouse window and running probably didn't do much to convince people he was innocent. I knew a guy who said that the police who responded to the domestic that he had perpetrated had no right to charge him with meth possession since the meth was so pure no one could have seen it. A guy was in court for a DUI and he insisted on taking the stand when his lawyer advised him not to. Turned out he wanted the judge to know the cop who arrested him was just some rude kid trying to be a big shot, and he wasn't even drunk. He'd only had 2 bottles of wine with dinner. His lawyer interrupted him to try to get him to stop talking, and he told his lawyer to shut up. Then the judge advised him to listen to his lawyer, and he told the judge, "I'm not a damn child, don't interrupt me," and the judge just smiled and sat back and said, "Please, proceed." We all knew it was over for this guy. He got maximumed on the charge and advised in the future if he was going to pay for a lawyer, he should listen to him. Sexual assault trial we had this past summer. Guy brutally raped a woman in a park, then took her bike and ATM card. A few minutes later he is recorded withdrawing $80 from her account. He is arrested within hours of the assault. At trial, he testified that the sex was consensual and the victim enjoyed performing oral on him so much that she gave him the bike and ATM card to show her appreciation, and that someone else came along and beat her after he left. He also practiced his planned testimony with an inmate who had just been sentenced on a gun charge and bragged about the sexual assault in detail. That inmate threw him under the bus and testified against him. Gun charge inmate freely admitted he hoped rapist would wind up in the same prison he did so he could hand out some rec yard justice. Running dope and guns was one thing, but he couldn't tolerate someone touching a woman. It didn't take long for a guilty verdict and life sentence. It was Independence Day, Your Honor. A day to celebrate the freedoms that our forefathers fought and died for. A day to celebrate what this country is. So yes, Judge, I did do some meth. For freedom. This was in a drug treatment court. Edit. Stop encouraging him. TBH, the judge chuckled and just said, "Don't be stupid." Then the next 5 defendants tried the same thing and the judge threw the book progressively harder. Key here is, get to court early, so your BS excuses first. Judge, why do you think showing up to this young lady's home unannounced, after she has made it clear to you she is not romantically interested in you, was an acceptable thing to do? Guy I was getting a restraining order against, I just wanted to lick the inside of her dog's mouth. There's lots of backstory to this, but let's just say I had a very creepy stalker. Edit. Thank you everybody for the love and support. I was the bailiff on a kidnap/rape case. The defendant was proper, acting as his own attorney. During jury selection he had the option to wear civilian clothing instead of his jail clothes. He chose to remain in his jail attire complete with handcuffs and waist restraints. It came time for him to cross-examine the victim. Understandably, she was very upset. Before he even started, she was crying and refused to look at him. The defendant's first question went like this. You seem upset. Does it make you nervous to be questioned by the person that raped you? You could hear a pin drop in that courtroom. He was found guilty and sentenced to 46 years to life in prison. Edit. Several question about the defendant's motivation about asking that question. He was big guy, but definitely not the sharpest knife in the drawer. My personal take was he tried to be questioned by the person you said/accused raped you, and flubbed it. I was talking to a seasoned defense attorney about this story and some others. His take on it was some defendants, for whatever reason, commit suicide by court. Hands down, it's a tie between every sovereign citizen I've seen in court for a simple traffic violation like displaying expired plates or not registering a vehicle. The defense is always a stupid variation of this court doesn't have jurisdiction because the wrong flag is displayed in the courtroom. Please like and subscribe, you scrubs. Don't tell your mum on me. Here are some more videos.